Now there's some vocabulary words that the interpreter is going to be voicing to help guide you through my poem. But really what I want you to do is try to visualize. I want you to see how I'm signing what I'm trying to represent to y'all today. Okay? Here it goes. There's a door. A great big, tall, old, giant door. And there's a keyhole. And I have a key. A long, narrow key that says ASL, American Sign Language. I try to put the key into the hole and turn it. And then I open up this huge, heavy door, and all this wind gusts and hits my face. And I go outside, and it's beautiful. So beautiful. There's all these white clouds and birds flying above me. And there's beautiful flowers moving back and forth all over the valley. And there's a beautiful waterfall, and I can feel the mist and the sun and the warmth of the sun and the grass throughout the hills. And then I see this huge mountain, so tall and wide and tall and wide, and I can't even see the peak because the clouds are covering it. So I start to walk through this field, up the mountain, up the hill, and then all of a sudden here's a friendly lion that touches me lightly on the knee. It's a big lion with sharp teeth, looking up at me, walking along. I pet him softly, and we walk together up the hill, continue to walk, and then all of a sudden I see this big stone, and it spells out autism. And it's so big, I can't walk over it, so I have to climb. I jump, and I jump, and I try to lift myself up, and it's so hard. And then the lion comes up to me and lets me use him as a stepping stool. I step above the lion, I get on top of the rock, and I jump over, and I'm falling, and I'm falling, and I'm falling, and I land. And the lion jumps, lands right next to me. I pet the lion. He has his sharp claws, and he scratches my arm. Ow! The lion looks up at me and puts his ears down and growling at me with my teeth. And then he starts running and away into the forest. No, lion, stay, stay. Here I am alone, looking up at this giant hill into the mountain. I continue to walk. My heart's racing. I'm sweating. I'm walking. The wind's blowing, gusting into my face. And I continue to walk, and I feel the wind, and I keep trying to go, and then all of a sudden, it starts raining. Harder and harder and harder and harder. It continues to rain. The wind's blowing so hard I can barely even see in front of me. And it's cold. I'm so cold. And I continue to try to walk to get up this hill. And then it's muddy. And I'm slipping. And I'm climbing. And I'm slipping. And I can barely breathe. And then all of a sudden, huge rocks start hitting my head. And what is it? It's hail. And it continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I can't even see anymore, and it just keeps hitting me. And so I grab a rock to protect my head from the hail, and I keep walking, and I'm so wet and cold, trying to protect myself from getting hurt, climbing up this hill, and then it's snowing. There's white snow all over the hills. You can barely see the trees. It's so cold. And then all of a sudden, it's up to my knees, and I can barely breathe. I continue to walk. It's up to my waist. I can't even breathe anymore. I can barely see. And then I see another big stone, and it spells out bilingual. Oh, I can barely see. I fall to my knees. I fall over on the ground and faint. Open my eyes, and I see a man coming towards me. I close my eyes once again. I see these men coming towards me, walking closer and closer, and I can barely open my eyes, and picks me up carries me, makes me stand up. I can barely stand up. And I follow these two men up the mountain. They're holding me on each side. And then all of a sudden I see a teepee with smoke coming out of it. They take me into the teepee. There's a nice warm fire. There's Native Americans with their feathers sitting all around as a family. And right there in the middle is the great big chief with his feathers so high and his long nose. And he looks at me and nods and walks over and gives me a big pair of boots. Oh, that's amazing. I put one foot in, the other feet forward. Oh, it feels so good and so warm. And the chief shakes his head at the other Indian. The Indian comes towards me and gives me a huge, big cloak. Oh, I button it up. It's so warm. A nice, big hood. Oh, the chief says, now you can go. You're ready. I open up the hut, I walk outside, I look at this mountain, I see the snow, I can barely see the peak. I continue to walk, I cover myself with this coat and I keep on going even though I can't see anymore. And the wind, it just won't stop, it keeps going and going, and then all of a sudden, here's that same lion again. This big mane and this big mouth, and he gives me a friendly tug. And I'm following him now. He's leading me the way through this mountain. And then all of a sudden, I can see the peak through the cloud. I see the peak. It's a beautiful, white, snowy peak mountain. I continue to climb up this mountain. I can't stop. I keep going. And all of a sudden, the sun appears, and I feel the warmth upon my cheek. I rip off my jacket. I rip off the shoes, and I start running up the mountain. I can't stop running. And then all of a sudden, here's another big rock. And what does it spell out? Deaf Hood. I climb. I try to get over this mountain, and here comes the lion. See me struggling. It says, go ahead. Step on my back. I step on the lion. I continue to climb over this rock, and then I'm at the top of the peak, and here I am, and I can see mountains and mountains and mountains all over surrounding me, and here I'm on the peak. Yes, I'm here. And then there's a door, a huge, giant door. And there's a little plaque, and what does it say? ASL, American Sign Language. And there's room for a key, and my key says ASL. And I look at this door, and I look at my key, and I put it right in, and I open the door, and all this white wind comes in, and I walk through that door, and what do I see? A white tunnel full of light, and the door closes behind me. And there's a sign in front of me with a big question mark of the unknown. Wow. Thank you so much.